Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours. Along with Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning. Gal probably will join a little later. Mike is going to be late. And Spence is in Atlanta. Our numbers, 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is made possible by vMix Software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and it's sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what's going on, Nick? You're frustrated by the computer?
No. I don't want to get into it.
All right.
Pain in the ass.
It can only get better.
It's just I'm so sick of dealing with this stupid problems with this damn computer. Slow performance. Sometimes it doesn't want to boot correctly. Then it boots. Then it's slow. Then it takes 5 minutes to boot. Then it boots instantly. And it's like, oh my God, just throw the whole damn thing out and just buy a new one. Problem solved.
I don't know, but
it's kind of it's an issue because I don't know if it's my spinning drive or my SSD or the RAM. I've done a mem test and everything is fine. And it's just not easy to troubleshoot. And I frankly just don't have the time to deal with it. So that's
that's a vicious circle when you don't have time to deal with it, and then when you sit in, that's like having a car that doesn't run right. You don't have time to take it to the garage, and you don't think about it, and then when you drive it, you say, "Oh shoot!" No.
Yeah, well, no, I have plenty of time to think about it. I just don't have time to sit here and pull the whole. I'm in obviously a little bit tighter quarters here than I was, and I've got the computer in a CPU cabinet into a desk, which means every time I need to deal with everything, I got to unhook everything and pull the whole thing out of the case to troubleshoot it. So, and it's not a consistent issue, which, as everybody knows, makes troubleshooting even harder. So I'm just going to live with it. When it gets bad enough, I'll have to deal with it. I'm still convinced it's the hard drive, but I was installing something on the SSD yesterday at a very high rate of speed, and the computer got very slow, which made me think maybe it's this A-data. Maybe these A-data SSDs aren't really made for anything.
Then you really need to find out quick, because you can still get a replacement before the warranty is over.
I don't have the opportunity to get a replacement. That's not really an option. Can't send this drive back and not have a drive.
No, you stick a spinning drive for a couple.
I don't have spare drives and whatnot.
So remind me next time you're up here.
Too much work. Then you got to do the SSD to HD conversion, and it's just a lot of work to go from an SSD to a spinning drive and then back. So we'll see. Life goes on.
I'm wondering, I never done it, and I don't know that will work, but what happened if you put an external hard drive and tell the BIOS to boot and use the USB drive? Did you ever done it?
It would be it won't work.
Yeah, I know. It'll be slow. I understand.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it will work. I mean, it's better than having all kind of problems.
I don't have all. That's the problem. I don't have all kind of problems. It just comes and goes at the most random times. It's not like the computer's unusable. I mean, I'm using it right now. Played video games all day yesterday. No problem. but just every once in a while, it just becomes unusable.
And you got it, so you have programs installed on the SSD too, or is it just the
All
system?
all the programs are on the
Okay.
SSD. Windows is on the SSD. Everything else is on the spinning drive.
What do you mean everything else?
Like all the all documents, picture,
But
everything
not
else is on
programs.
this.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I've got documents, music, pictures, programs, and videos mapped to the D drive. But it was a little weird when I was installing that game because I'm out of space on my spinning drive. I was installing something to test on the SSD, and the computer became unresponsive when it was writing about 30 megabytes worth of data. Megabytes, whatever it was.
To the SSD.
To the SSD, which makes me think maybe it's an SSD problem. You get what you pay for.
No, I mean people buy them. I mean they were
Well, yeah.
It's interesting.
But it does appear that the drive is aligned. So
you ran the utility.
I didn't run a utility. You can do a little bit of math and figure out if your drive is aligned.
Oh, okay.
Apparently.
So that was that long formula that you were.
It's you take your partition starting offset and divide it by 496. If it comes out to an integer or a whole number, it's aligned. If it doesn't, then it is not aligned. I could probably try to align. I'm concerned about aligning it if it doesn't need to be aligned because it does.
Right, you're afraid that something would happen. You always.
No, I'm not afraid something will happen. I'm afraid that it's just unnecessary reads and writes to the SSD, which are not good for it. It could be a bad SATA cable. It could be 100 things. It could be. I mean, it could be a million different things, and that's of course the.
Does it happen to you when you load the program, or is it only on boot?
No, it's all random times. Sometimes I'll just be browsing the internet, and Chrome will just become non-responsive, and the whole computer will kind of just halt.
And did you ever look at the hard drive light when this happens?
The hard drive light,
and it's solid.
It's not pegged now. Even yesterday, when the computer was locking up, I had Task Manager open looking at the disk utilization, and it wasn't using but 30% or 40% of the SSD. Which I don't know. Maybe these A-data drives are not super high performance.
Yeah, but not to that point, and not randomly. That doesn't. No. Yeah, that can be very frustrating.
You're telling me it's been 2 months now, 3 months now. Come to some conclusion at some point. But I don't really want to harp on it because it's frustrating. So, what else is going on?
Oh, what else is going on? Nothing really much. I'm learning.
Much, really?
Huh?
You mean nothing much, really?
Nothing much, really. I'm getting. Ron is getting me exercised with Linux this week.
Boy.
I mean, he had me move all the system users to virtual users, and he gave me the instructions, and I started doing it. And boy, I was doing it. I mean, at a good clip. And then I realized that when I moved some of those users, when I moved their email over, it was not. They were not the owner of the files that I moved. So I'm looking, and the queue is beginning to fill up with messages, and I go and I look and find I figured it out and fixed that, and some users suddenly. The good thing about it, I had probably about 100 users that were no longer there. That I figured out. Okay, this I don't need. This I don't need. This I don't need. So that was good. I mean, it was nice cleanup of and I'm for the audience. I'm talking about Delta Force, about the internet service provider, not on my machine. And did a bunch of stuff and started another server to do older PHP stuff on it, and it's working. It is working.
Oh, good.
The very nice thing about Linode is when you have a mail server and you inherit an IP address because you go somewhere new, many times that IP address would be blacklisted with some of the other mail providers. So you have to go through all kind of rigmaroles to write them and back and forth and say, this is what's going on. And we are an ISP and this is just an IP that we got. So we got it all settled a few months ago. And now that we're moving from one server to another, I told Ron, I said, look, I don't want to start this all over again. See if we can just get that IP address and put it over there on the new one when we're actually switching. And he found out from them that, yeah, there's a button there. It says migrate IP.
Well, yeah, so all the IPs are virtualized anyway, really.
Well, they are virtualized, but the trick is that you want to use the same thing, and normally you can't just do it easy. They have to do it. And yeah, that was nice. And this is what I was doing all this week. I mean, I was sitting there, and some of these days I was there like at 8, 9 o'clock in the evening working, and I realized, okay, I'm beginning to make a lot of mistakes here. Time to quit. And it's hard to quit when you are on a roll, but at least I wasn't getting frustrated.
Oh, that's good.
I wish I could send some of that unfrustration toward, your direction.
Oh, I've been dealing with a lot of great issues, website compromises, hard drives that don't want to work. It's been a great week for me. Everything has gone great. I've not had any problems this week. It has been a fantastic week.
Isn't that nice? Right.
I have definitely had a fan. I don't think I've ever had a better week in my life.
Oh yeah. Oh hush.
Hey, Gal.
Oh hush.
Doing good.
Oh, I'm glad you're good. I'm also good. Nice to see you.
Did you discuss that problem with Gal to get a different opinion?
No, I have not.
What, the SSD issue?
Yeah, I don't know if it's an SSD issue. That's
because you think it's an SSD issue. The easiest thing is just replace the drive for a week and see if that comes back.
Yeah, a little bit easier said than done, unfortunately.
No, I know. I have the same problem. I have a drive that I want to replace, and I'm always stalling and delaying. It's not that big of an issue. It's just, or not that big of a task, but yeah, just don't want to. The risk of something being messed up is what puts it off.
It's very possible. Nick, maybe you should take out the machine. I mean, there's no way to leave it out of the cabinet for a while. Open.
I mean, I can hook it up temporarily, but
no. Oh, you have to unhook it in order to get it out.
Correct.
Oh,
yeah. These CPU cabinets are like almost 11 or 12 inches deep. So you have to have a whole bunch of extra slack on cables, which I do not. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, so can you unhook it, put it outside the cabinet, and then hook it back and leave it there for a while?
Not really.
So you can get in and out.
I mean, I could, but it would be uncomfortable to sit here. I wouldn't be able to put my legs under the desk. So, but I'll figure something out.
Put it on top of the desk.
Yes, I'll put it on in front of the monitors. That'll work.
On your lap, like a laptop.
That's good. Yeah, that's even a great.
There you go.
It also solve your heating issues. So.
A Visa mount a monitor to the side of it. It'll be great. Let's talk about more frustrating things. Let's talk about WordPress and getting compromised.
Oh, so Oh,
I have had 2 weeks from hell with this WordPress website. Originally, it started off with a Google search index warning that there were malicious files on my website. Not the first time it's happened. WordPress sites are notorious for getting compromised. That's why people say don't use WordPress. Okay, great, but it's the most popular CMS out there, and for usability for other people, it's kind of it is the way to go. This was probably 2 weeks ago that this warning came up. So I went in there, saw there was a bunch of malicious files, and moved on to figuring out it was a directory. So logged into it and deleted whatever the file. There was like 2 or 3 directories that had a whole bunch of rogue PHP files in it.
The ones
Deleted
that you found.
Yeah. Well, Google gave me a list of what files were compromised. So I went in there, deleted those directories, updated WordPress's core, and kind of put it aside. Typically that's all you need to do. A couple days later, I get the same notice again. Now it's a different set of directories. They're all randomly generated strings. So they're just numbers and letters in them randomly. This time I delete all the files, change my password. Okay, maybe I got it this time. Happens again, like 2 or 3 days later. Now I call Amnon. I say, okay, I got this site and I don't know what's going on here. So we take a look at it, and whoever has compromised it has, has injected PHP on almost every stock PHP file on the WordPress website. So every plugin, theme, the core, everything. And as I'm deleting the malicious PHP, it is re-adding it to the files immediately. The second I save and upload it to the server and download it, the rogue PHP is back injected in those files. So fortunately, I had a backup from a couple months ago on the website, and I, backed up some information, hosed the whole site. Fortunately, it's mostly a static site. Hosed the site, re-uploaded the backup from April. Works for a couple days, and then the same thing happens again. Now I'm running WordPress. I've got all my plugins up to date, and it appears that somehow, and I have to believe that it was some type of compromise on the web host's part, but I can't prove it, is I found out after digging through some log files that they were actually getting into my cPanel to make changes to the website. Now, the reason I say I think it's something on the web host side is I generate a random password for those cPanel users, and I never use them because I log into the web hosting core panel, which has 2-factor authentication. So somehow they were getting into my cPanel, which is the web hosting platform, and I guess they were injecting stuff that way. But it was everything's been good now for about a week. So I think I'm
and you're seeing a lot of hits, right?
WordFence is giving me a lot of hits, but
Yeah.
I've determined it wasn't a WordPress issue. They were getting into they got into my cPanel. I don't know if it was cPanel is notorious for having exploits.
Well, the thing that they do is they do get through your cPanel, but once WordPress is infected, they broadcast it and people come into WordPress to do what they want to do, because at that point they have access to your WordPress.
But I noticed that they were doing other things as well. For example, they were setting up forwarders within the domain. They were setting up fake email addresses. They were setting up stuff that was very odd to me. And it was only one site on it's a shared web hosting account. It was only one site on the account. So it was quite peculiar to say the least. But I believe all the problems are sorted out and dealt with now. So.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems in a week, and they were hitting it like every day. So I think I'm good to go.
Did you ever talk to them about cPanel, or you did everything just whatever you can?
No, I didn't want to talk to them because they were threatening to throw me off their server, because it was obviously they're trying to protect their IP addresses and whatnot. So no, I did not.
Well, this is. I was talking about this, and I talk about with every new customer that comes in is Ron years ago. I mean, from the very beginning, was saying, don't choose any kind of a cPanel because there are others, because they are actual security holes. Because in order for them to do what they need to do, you need to give a lot of permissions for the program to manipulate other stuff. I mean, when you are setting up email through your cPanel, cPanel has to have access to your mail server in order to say, yes, it's okay for this to do that. And he said that then a lot of these things are actually can get compromised because of it. And we just got used to that. I am the cPanel. I mean, you need something change, you call me and I do it. Maybe today it's better and more secure, but back then it was done in a way that was really, really convoluted. And we're talking 90s.
Well, we'll say this: like anything else, everything has got a trade off.
Yeah.
And in the case of people that don't have an Amnon or a Ron, cPanel is the option.
Absolutely.
I mean, so that's kind of the trend. And frankly, if you're doing any type of shared hosting, you are required to use a panel. There's no option to do that. And unfortunately, with my already laundry list of responsibilities at work, maintaining a dedicated server is just not it's just not a feasible thing to add to that list. Right. So I'm in the position of shared hosting, which is fine. I mean, there's
that's the thing. I mean, you set up security and you put up walls.
Yeah,
that's what
I'm
you
just
do.
still very perplexed on how they got into the cPanel, because it can't be brute force. I mean, I can't imagine it's brute force, because it was just when you generate a new user, you just click generate on the password and that's it. And I've never actually logged in with that password anywhere.
Well, could
be a keylogger. Who knows?
It could be, and all kind of things can happen. And let the truth be known, you did not update the plugins and all that on time. And these guys that are sitting on the other side, that's what they do, is they sit there for hours and figuring out how to break into known pieces of software. I mean, if you write your own software and you're running it somewhere, they don't know what to do, because they can't load it on their machine and see, oh, so he's got this and he's got that. But when you're talking about cPanel, it's something that you can download and look at the whole thing and figure out, okay, here's a hole, here's those. Same thing with
cPanel's up to date and managed by the web host.
I understand, and that's what I'm saying. For them to just threaten you and not take into consideration that it could be there, that's bad.
If there were no other users compromised, then why would they assume it's them? And it probably wasn't them, but I just don't know how the hell somebody could have gotten into that cPanel.
At this point, what you have to do, you did right. It's you strengthen the security on your app, on your installation, and you go. You know, it's the time will come. You'll be able to get into a dedicated server or move your services somewhere else, and all these problems may go away.
Well, I'm pretty happy with where my service is.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just saying, who knows? But the thing is, at this point, don't try and figure out how, because there's so many ways. I mean, look, we had a site that the guy did not update, and he got compromised, and I almost went through the same thing that you're going through. And at the end of the line, it was so bad. All right, he's just getting a new site. And that's what he did. And everything was okay from then on. People, I mean, the main thing is if you have a WordPress site, you really need to keep it up. You really need to update it when it needs to be updated. Yes, it's a chore, but it doesn't take. How long did it take you to update all the plugins, Nick?
Oh, it didn't take a while to update the plugins. No,
we're talking minutes.
Correct.
It's not rocket science. Do it because it's the only thing that you can do. You know, put a lock on the door, make sure the windows are closed at night, or what those little things. You lock your car. Some people have an alarm. It's you're doing the little things. Of course, if somebody's trying to get in, yeah, they'll figure out probably a way to get in sooner or later. But as long as you keep up with everything out there that is available to you from the authors of the software, who they don't. I mean, WordPress doesn't want to be known for problems. No. cPanel doesn't want to be known for problems, so they also have teams that all the time look at what's going on and say, okay, here's a patch, here's a patch, here's a patch, and fix it. So you have to do it, yeah. And you did good. I mean, you figured it out.
Yeah.
And that WordFence program is unbelievable.
Used a whole bunch of hours I didn't have this week dealing with it. So.
Well, that's how you learn. That's what they call the School of Hard Knocks.
I don't want to go back to school.
You have to learn. That's the best way to learn, because that sticks in your mind.
Oh yeah, it's in my mind for sure.
If you went to class if you went to class about this, you know, okay, fine.
I did. I went to I did some stupid computer science classes. Yeah. I did an intro to web development class. It was great. Built the site in HTML4. Very useful in this day and age. That was great.
You done good.
I bought a soundbar the other day. I'm just swimming in money over here.
Where is it?
It's sitting. You can't really see it.
Is it under?
Yeah, it's right there. I bought this Vizio TV. Talked about it a couple weeks ago. Got a good price on it, but the speakers sucked. They were on the back of the TV. They were very tinny, and to hear anything from where I'm sitting here, my couch is just right across and right next to me. The volume would have to be upwards of like 60% or what, 60 volume, whatever unit they measure in. And the sound just wasn't great. And it was all shooting the opposite way. And unlike anybody else that lives around me, I'm conscious of sound because I live in an apartment complex. So blasting, the volume at 60 on the opposite side of the wall is not my ideal thing. So Walmart had this little Vizio sound bar. It's 28 inches, I believe. Yes, 28-inch sound bar. It's just a regular 2-channel stereo sound bar. I'm using Toslink or optical to connect it to the TV. It's got Bluetooth, and the cool thing, which I didn't know beforehand, is because it's a Vizio TV, the volume button on the TV remote controls the volume on the sound bar, which is very useful. So the only thing I have to do is turn the soundbar on with the other remote. It's a cheap enough soundbar that it doesn't have, any type of auto power on options or anything like that. But yeah, it works great. So if you're looking for a cheap little soundbar, it way better than the internal speakers. And it's got Bluetooth and USB and auxiliary input.
I need to do something like that to ours.
Why?
To get a soundbar a speaker that connects wirely, because Kathy got a great. So we have a Samsung, and she got a Samsung speaker, it's Wi-Fi. It looks like an Echo unit. It's unbelievable. But every now and then, a couple of times a day, it'll just go poof out, disconnect, and then it'll be completely quiet. And about 2 minutes after it's quiet, the TV speakers will come on. But I mean, it always happened at the most inopportune moment when you're watching something and suddenly, boop, that's it, no more sound. And sometimes it'll work for days and days and no problem. But it doesn't. I mean, I'm surprised at this day and age it doesn't have just a regular one of them headphone.
I'm sure it does.
Jacks. It doesn't.
The speaker doesn't, or the TV doesn't.
The TV doesn't.
The TV is not going to have a regular headphone jack. It will probably have it'll have an optical.
It has an optical. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then that'll work with any standard soundbar.
Right. Yes.
So but you do have to use another remote. That's going to be your struggle, is try to find a device that
will work together. Yeah.
Well, you find a device that will work. You probably have to buy some type of Samsung soundbar. Well, you don't use your Samsung remote. You have to find something that you can program the Time Warner remote to use via RF or IR, not RF, IR.
Yeah, it's a pain, but we were talking one day with Mike, and Mike said, "Yeah, open the TV and just wire the speakers to a plug, and then you can just plug anything you want."
There you go. Great solution.
Yeah, I know.
I love it.
I know.
That's what I do.
I don't know why, but that's my point. I don't understand why they don't put
no output RCA jack.
No.
Interesting. They're done with all the analog outputs.
Well, that's weird. The thing. It's
I mean, this cheap TV's got RCA outputs.
What if you want to put headphones on?
I would put them on this. This has got RCA.
No. I'm saying for person who doesn't have a soundbar, you just want to put the headphone and listen to it at night and not bother anybody. You
got to pay extra. I'm pretty sure there are boxes that connect to the digital output and gives an analog output. But yeah, it's strange.
It seems like I tried.
I would think an RCA would be there, just because of old camcorders. Not right.
Right.
So you'll have an input and an output for RCA.
Camcorders, VCRs.
You buy one of these guys. This is an optical to stereo output converter. You buy one of these guys. They're on Amazon. They're cheap.
It seems like that's what I'm trying to think. It seems like I got one and used.
Take a Toslink or coaxial input, and then you can break it out into a sound. Cheap.
So it sounds really good now, huh?
It sounds like you can actually listen to the TV.
Yeah.
And it's got Bluetooth, which is kind of neat as well.
Yeah, if the TV had a Bluetooth, it would be very easy to set up a speaker.
Well, it would be, but then I wouldn't be able to use my phone. So I'm actually pretty happy with the optical in.
Yeah, wired.
Yeah,
wired is.
Bluetooth. Yeah, Bluetooth is way more reliable, obviously, than Wi-Fi for that application, of course. Yeah. So there you go.
So, Gal, what's going on with you?
I've been busy in a couple of things. Last time I was here, that was 2 weeks ago, and somebody mentioned the Pi hole.
Right.
And I went ahead and bought some Raspberry Pis and started playing with that. It's a nifty little gadget. It is simple to set up. It's not like anything complex.
There's a but coming up.
No, I mean it's great. It's a great solution for a lot of things. I don't think I would recommend it for a PC.
Oh.
I would recommend it for anything that isn't a PC. For example, smart TVs, right, where you can't put an ad blocker in your browser. I would put something like this in the network. I would make the default configuration of the DHCP server direct all of the DNS traffic through that box. It's basically a DNS box. So what it does is you configure your network to route all the DNS requests to that. So instead of going to your ISP DNS or Cloudflare or
whatever,
Google, right? 1111 1111 is the most it's the best solution today. It's the fastest and the most secure one. Then there's Google, right? 88888, and that's another good option for a global one. But instead of using that, you're using your internal DNS. It can also be a DHCP server, so it'll give out the IPs. It all depends on how you manage your network, right? Because if you have something that's already complex and already works good for you and safe, you can just configure it to send all the traffic through the DNS. Anyway, that's the technical stuff. Once you set all of that up, then browsing is just the same. It's and it blocks out all of the domains that are known to be hosting ads. So let's say Facebook, okay, for example. Facebook serves its ad from a separate domain name. So instead of www.facebook.com, it comes from something else. Let's say ad.facebook.com. And there's a managed list that is auto updated of these domain host names, and whenever such a host name is requested from your browser, a DNS request goes out, right? And this box, instead of taking this DNS request out to the world, it just says, hey, it's me. Go to my address and I'll serve the image. And instead it serves a blank image. So the pages, there's two artifacts to this. One, everything loads faster where they're at, right? Because locally a very small image is coming back. I think they just sent white dots, right? Like a 1-on-1 pixel file. So it's a very, very small file, and it's served locally. And the other artifact is the page is a lot whiter, right? It's a lot blanker. But that's it. Why I wouldn't recommend it for a PC? So for a PC, I would recommend the PC bypass that DNS and use something else, right? Use Cloudflare or Google or something like that. However, if you do that, you might lose everything that has to do with local DNS routing. Let's say you want to connect from your computer to another computer, and they advertise their IPs over the local DNS, then you might lose that. But that can be solved with something called host files. That's a technical thing. We can discuss this separately. Still, why not use it on a PC? On a PC, we have the benefit of having ad blockers on our browsers. They're a lot more effective, and they can be a lot more pinpointed. So sites that serve, you can also clean up things that are not ads with an ad blocker, and that makes it very, very convenient. And sometimes you need everything to work because of the way the site checks itself and all of that, and that might just block things. However, on a TV that you have, on a smart TV or Fire TV or something like that, Roku, that plays YouTube, for example, right? If you want away with those pesky YouTube ads, you put a pie hole like this in between. You configure the TV, or you make sure that the everything in the network is configured to defaultly go through the pie hole for DNS, and then you get ad-free viewing, and that's great. That's fantastic, and that's at this point I think it's the only solution that's out there. This really reminds me of OpenDNS. OpenDNS is a publicly hosted DNS that you can use instead of your ISP one, or instead of Google's one. They were there before Google published their DNS out. And the nice thing about OpenDNS is once you configure it for your network, and you register with them and assign your IP, your external IP, on your account, you can control and track your DNS activity. So let's say you want to make sure your household is porn free. OpenDNS manages the category of porn sites, right? And if you set up everything, their site is very, very clear on how to set it up. It's not that complex. If you set it up that way, then you can, by logging to your account, you can set it up so your routing, when it goes to a porn site, you'll get a page saying this has been blocked, right?
Nice.
Contact your administrator. Mm-hmm. That is a very easy thing to set up for a private home, private network. It's fantastic. So Firehole is the same idea, gives you just, but it's internally set up in your home, and because you can set it up on a Raspberry Pi, right? You can, I don't know, $60 or something like that. Get the Pi, get like a nice case, comes with a power supply. You can get a kit like that and put it next to your router, and I mean, that's the whole investment you need to do, and you have 100% control of your DNS requests. It also has like a web UI, shows you graphs, so you can see where everyone in the home, what's accessing what, who's requesting which addresses and stuff like that. So it's a nice project. It's a really interesting one. I was concerned when it was mentioned at first. I was concerned because especially the Wikipedia page, it says it acts like a firewall. It's not a firewall because traffic does not go through it, but it is a relay. It's a DNS relay. So all DNS requests, this is what's going to answer them. It has some neat features. I haven't sunk my heart into. I haven't decided whether I'm going to use it exclusively in my network or maybe do set up TVs to use it. So so at least for there, I get an ad-free experience.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
I've got something here that, Gal, I don't know if you've heard about this. You were talking about 1.1.1.1. That's Cloudflare's new DNS. They have just released a set of mobile apps for iOS and Android that configure a DNS profile, a VPN profile on iOS, and it's a little bit different on Android depending on the version you run, that automatically routes your on iOS, because Apple's incompetent. You cannot set global DNS. You have to set it you can set it on 4G, but then on Wi-Fi, you have to set it per network DNS, which is, of course, nobody's going to do.
Right.
So you install this app. The app is called 1.1.1.1, and it looks like, the screen's too bright. It looks like this. If I can pull this up here, this is what it looks like. It's a little screen, and you click the on button and the little VPN icon on the top of the iPhone comes on, and it routes all of your traffic through Cloudflare's DNS, which I have noticed even just on my iPhone, things are just resolving a whole lot quicker than they used to. It's almost a noticeable amount, which is not normal with DNS. When you switch DNS, you don't typically notice it, but I have really noticed how much quicker Cloudflare's DNS is. I haven't tried it on Android, but if you're looking for something I mean, it's definitely quicker, and it doesn't affect your performance. It's not a VPN. It's not routing traffic. It is just changing the DNS resolver to Cloudflare. So the app is literally called 1.1.1.1. That's the name of the app.
Right.
And it's free.
Now, this is important. Everything free comes with a price, right? So always mention the price.
Cloudflare sees all your traffic.
Right. Cloudflare right now, they are competing with Google on the same space. Because up until recently, Google still provides 8.8.8.8, and that has been like the go-to solution for DNS issues especially in private networks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why use 8.8.8.8? Why use 1.1.1? And what's the price? So with Cloudflare, the privacy policy is actually very pro-user at this point. And as long as we trust them, as with any free provider, right? It seems like they're the best solution in terms of performance and in terms of privacy. They do collect the information. They do track this to a point, right? They cannot. There is no way for them to identify the human being behind the requests, but they do gather traffic information of what goes from IPs and what requests that are going through. So keep that in mind. You are doing that. Before that, you did it with your ISPs. The thing is that today we already know ISPs are selling this information out.
Yep.
Cloudflare isn't, at least for now. Okay, so that is one reason to use it. But the price is we are giving Cloudflare our metadata, right? They're going to know about it. One of the best things they do have, though, and using this VPN application gives you DNS requests, which are usually not encrypted, and they're usually very open. Remember, the internet, right? This is the epitome of hippie culture. This was created in the 70s, right? This is all about open communication, open collaboration. It was an academic project funded by government Department of Defense money, but it was an academic project. So the whole idea of communication was either this communication is already run within my closed system, right? That's the Department of Defense side, or it doesn't really matter where I'm running it because I'm doing it all in order to share information, right? Commercial interests and all of the notions of proprietary information, that wasn't even taken into account when it was designed. And we're still there. We're still using the same technology. So with DNS is completely open, and it still is. But Cloudflare, one of the things that they're pushing DNS over HTTPS, and over HTTPS or over SSL, I don't remember. Secure DNS. Basically, today every request that comes out of our machine, our external IP to the external network, can be sniffed out by a third party and can be tracked not only by the ISP. Another thing is there's something called DNS hijacking, where a third party floods the net with, hey, I know the answers for these and these and these domains. So when you have an IP request for any of these high-level domains, go through me. And instead of going through the official servers answering the questions, it goes through a third party first, and they track all of that. They can also give you bogus IPs. And then you go through their sites. Cloudflare with DNS over HTTPS, they basically they make sure that even the request itself is encrypted. So the only other point that knows the request is the DNS server that you have asked for the IP. So there's no flooding. There's no way of flooding and masking and hiding and giving you false answers. So Cloudflare is definitely, right now, they're the best choice. They're free, which is great, but there's always a price, so keep that in mind. Using something like the Pi-hole together with Cloudflare is probably a very good solution, by the way. So keep that in mind. Thanks for the tip, Nick.
Yeah, I saw that in a YouTube
I remember
video.
looking at it for a while and not doing anything, and yeah, let's see how it works.
If you're an Android user, you probably don't need the app. You can just set a global. You can just set a global DNS on your phone, which I'm sure most people don't. But on iOS, you have to. There's a big problem with an iOS though. If you use VPNs to connect to networks, you can't really use it because
it takes over.
Yeah, it sets up a VPN profile. It can be used.
But then when you use a VPN, you're going through your VPN's DNS anyway. So
correct. I mean, but it's just kind of a pain to switch back and forth. I'm sure people don't want to switch back and forth.
Let's see. I'm using my phone is mine, right? But because I'm using work stuff, then there's a managed. It's like it has a managed aspect of it.
Okay.
Which allows me to work with all of the VPN, like all of the work specific application. Let's say our Exchange and all that. I wonder how it will affect it whether I use 1111. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
And then there was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I forgot. We're talking about DNS. It was something with DNS and networking, I thought.
Well, you think about it, but there's a little short blurb here about the fact that updated terms of service policy sent out on Thursday, Spotify is now explicitly banning ad blockers. The new rules specifically state that circumventing or blocking advertisements on the Spotify service or creating or distributing tools designed to block advertisements in the Spotify service can result in immediate termination or suspension of your account.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's for the free accounts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And good for them. They should be banning people. They give you an option to pay for the service if you want to use it without ads. And if you choose not to, then hey, don't use the service. Pay for it or find something else to use.
Right.
I mean, we want to have a conversation. I mean, let's talk about, you want to talk about piracy. You could argue it's kind of the same thing. They're making their money, but they're giving you the music for free in air quotes, so they can serve you ads in which they're making money on. You disable all those ads. Mm-hmm. Are you now stealing the content? Some would probably argue yes. I mean, I'm not going to go one way or the other with it, but now we're talking. Now there's two different sides of this. Now these stupid newspaper websites that put up these big click here to say, one free click a day and all this garbage. That's another story. Spotify offers you a reasonably price paid solution. I think I've been a subscriber now for almost 2 years, and I think it's $14 a month or something like that.
No, it should be 10, I think.
Doesn't
matter. I mean,
for a family.
It's
okay,
not.
I pay 15 for a family.
Okay, then maybe it's 10.
Yeah. And I can tell, and I can say, right, for a long time I was pirating music because there were no good solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I researched all of the other services. I thought, all of the other services will be better because at the beginning, Google were cheaper. Everything was cheaper, right? Pandora, all of those. But eventually, like Spotify is the best $15 I'm paying. I'm using it almost every day, and I enjoy it. That's why. Yeah. Sorry, free ad. Yeah. No ad block for that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Alan had a question in the chat about what the approach of preventing kids to circumventing the setup. There's with knowledge comes great responsibility. If they know how to change their DNS settings, hey, if they listen to this show and downloaded the Cloudflare's 1111, then they're bypassing the DNS that you configured for them. So it's not like a foolproof solution. If you really want to limit your users, you need to manage their phone. To manage their phone, there are some family solutions that actually work. I think Symantec has one. They're all geared into adult supervision. They're quite intrusive. Google has one, by the way, for Android, which it's really interesting because when you go to download the app, you need to install an app on the kid's phone and you need to install an app on the adult phone. And the app on the kid's phone is really, really, really aggressive. And so I think the only thing kids can do is rate applications that are installed for them on the Play Store, and they rate this app with the lowest possible rating, and it's all rage in the ratings there. So it's like it's the best lowest rating I've ever seen.
Very smart. I like that.
Yeah.
Slap the hand that's blocking you. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So so if you're looking for something like to really control, then you'll need some application that installs as an administrator of the phone, and of course you'll need something that encompasses the PC as well, the laptop or a Mac, and third parties, they do have solutions like that. I don't know the price and I don't know the quality, but I've heard of one of my friends used Symantec for a while. I don't know if he still uses it. So there are solutions. This is not. This will not help you against a hacking type of kid, right? But probably, especially if kids grow up with this, like from a little age where they're not interested in the technical aspect, then you can groom them into this. But teenagers, that'll be harder.
I would really think that if you tell the teenager, look, if I inspect the phone and I see that you're circumventing, the phone is gone.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's always a possibility, right?
You have the backbone to hold something like that up. That's a tough sell.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a real tough
And
sell.
the other thing is, I mean, how much of a problem is it to circumvent it and go back and circumvent it and go back to set it up the way that you want it to be? And then the kids, if they want to change it and go to a different DNS, and then they have to change the DNS back So if you like when they're out, they go to another. It becomes something that they probably will stop doing, or you're going to be able to catch them at the act. Because in the beginning you may spend 5 minutes or 2 minutes or a minute to change the DNS and whatever it takes, and then reset it to the way Dad did it, and then you go out and you set it back, and fear is the thing to do here.
John says some people say fast forwarding through ads on DVR is theft. They're a little bit different between that Spotify thing. The way that Spotify and these online services make money is Facebook as well. Is they get so if I want to go buy ads through, I can buy ads through Spotify. They have an ad network, so I can go to Spotify and say, "Hey, I own an online website that sells sports memorabilia. I would like you to serve my ad to men ages 18 to 55. I'm willing to spend, $2 or $3 per ad listen. Here's my audio file. Here's the ad." The way Spotify makes money is by serving the ad. They pass through the cost to the consumer. If you're circumventing Spotify's ad network, they aren't serving the ad. When you're fast forwarding through ads on network television, they are serving you the ad. It's like saying pulling out your earbuds during the ad is theft. You're just not listening to the ad, but they're still serving the ad. They're still making the money. And I think that's where the Spotify argument is a little bit different, is even if you're not listening to Facebook, if you open up facebook.com right now without ad block, there's ads all over the page. Even if you don't look at them, Facebook is charging the ad buyer some type of CPM on that advertisement.
Sure.
So Facebook is in turn making money on it. Because even if you don't pay attention to the ad. You hold your hand over the screen and scroll through Facebook, they're still charging those ads. Those advertisers are still paying for it. So,
and they can prove it because your computer loads it, your phone loads it.
Absolutely. And it is. They should be paying for it. The ad is on my screen. If I choose to look, it's no different on the radio. What happens when you change the station when a commercial comes on? You go to the other music station. They're still serving the ad to their customers over the airwaves.
Right.
Right. So, but the Spotify thing and even the YouTube thing is a little bit different, but because you're screwing the content creator. But I'm not trying to guilt anybody, because I write ad block everywhere too. I'm not trying to throw rocks from a glass house, but I think it's interesting.
So now I'm wondering if the liberals are going to be able to call me some thief or something because I covered Pelosi's face with a piece of paper while I was watching the speech. I just couldn't take it anymore. That face.
You were.
The
networks deserve a cut. They're going to send you a bill. There's no advertising during that, so I guess maybe not.
All right, Nick, you want to do specials?
I do. Do you have those pulled up?
Let me see. I think I do, and I never looked that good in years.
I know. This is an advertisement for the Contra arcade game. Amazon's looking pretty good over there. Been a while since I've seen you. I was playing Contra this week.
You did good. You.
I put more time into that Photoshop than I did the.
Oh, jeez.
I just want to say, what time did I message you last night? That was at 11:15 p.m. last night. I was working on that screenshot. All right. Let's start with staples here. Spence is out of town, so I'll keep you company here today. Here's an HP Pavilion with a Core i7 laptop. This is interesting. Their information is wrong on the screen. They've got their banner is incorrect. So it says that it's got 1 terabyte of RAM. Not the case. Yep. It's got 24 gigabytes of memory, but it's 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, as well as 16 gigabytes of Intel Optane, which I'm sure most people haven't heard of. Optane is an M.2. It's not really RAM and it's not really storage. Optane is Intel's, it's a way that the storage and the memory can communicate. It's essentially some sort of cache that's built in there. So as I said a couple weeks ago, I wouldn't recommend computers without SSDs. This Optane is kind of like a helper to a spinning drive. It makes the drive perform a lot quicker because you've got 16 gigabytes essentially of cache that the Optane drive can deal with. So a little bit confusing, but it is better. You will get better performance on this computer than a regular computer without an Intel Optane, which is an M.2 little expansion. So if you're interested in, just do a Google search for Intel Optane, you can read all about it. But HP Pavilion i7 15.6 inch, $629. Here's a Dell with 256 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM with an i5, $499.99. This looks like it could be a cool little computer to just. I bet you it's got good battery life based on it being a Dell, and you could probably do some cool stuff with that. This was an odd thing that I have never seen in Staples flyers before. If you're shipping anything this week, you get 10% off all UPS shipping services. And another, when we get later into the program, there's another big box store that's offering a very similar promotion as well. So if you have to ship anything this week, UPS, go bring it over to Staples, and you can get 10% off. 10% off that. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about mass storage, and if you needed to, put some files on a whole bunch of different little USB keys and give them away to people. These drives are pretty big, but nevertheless, you can get a pack of 4 either 16 or 32 gigabyte USB 2.0 flash drives. The 16 gig pack is $26.99. 32 gigabyte pack is $34.99 if you need to give a large amount of files to just a couple of different people. You buy a couple of packs of these for $100 and have a couple different backups or whatever you're trying to give to people all around. All right, here's another Dell laptop. This one has got 16 gigabytes of memory. It's only 13.2 inches screen size, so it's a little bit close to like a MacBook Air, and it's got a 256 gigabyte SSD. It's a little pricey here, but it's $799.99. This is more of a workhorse computer with the i7 and the 16 gigabytes of RAM there. So that's a Dell. Here's a second generation Amazon Echo for $70. I like the look of the original Echo, the more narrow design. The second and third generation Echoes have a little bit bigger footprint on the table. But you can pick that up over there at Staples. Here's another Dell laptop. This is an i5 with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Looks very similar to that i7. It's a little less power. Same thing, 13.3 inch screen. Both, of course, running Windows 10. It's $599.99. And TurboTax. If you need to use the deluxe version of TurboTax, and if you need to do a whole bunch of weird deductions, you can get the deluxe version for $49.99. And that comes with the deluxe plus your state's copy. And then finally, this is a cool little keyboard. If you travel with an iPad or an Android tablet and hate using the on-screen keyboard, Logitech sells this Keys to Go, which is a portable keyboard. It's got special shortcuts. It'll work on a computer, but it's got special shortcuts for both iOS and Android to do specific tasks. So that's kind of what it's built for. But obviously, it'll work with any device that's got Bluetooth. So it'll work on your laptop or your desktop, whatever it may be. All right, moving on over to Best Buy. Amnon, you need a couple of these in the studio. These Logitech 4K Pro webcams. They're normally $200, but you can get this one at Best Buy for $159.
I wonder how fast that will eat the USB bandwidth.
Yeah, I'm sure your USB 3 controller would love a couple of those. And I'm sure Windows handles those very well.
Yeah.
Conflicting drivers. Here, this is not an ad for Far Cry New Dawn. That game's going to be awful. But this Insignia TV is a pretty good deal. $199.99, 43-inch, 1080p. It's not smart, but it does have 3 HDMI ports, which is I think 3 is kind of the sweet spot. Unfortunately, my new Vizio only has 2, which makes it kind of a pain to use some different things with. SSDs. I'm a big fan of SSDs. And here's a SanDisk. Maybe I'll just go buy this and solve all my problems. SanDisk. This is actually a really good price. A SanDisk Ultra 512 gigabyte SSD, $69. I actually think I'm going to go get this. This is a really good price on an SSD, and it's a SanDisk. $70 on that, save 60. I haven't seen these before. I don't know what the performance is on it. It had decent reviews on Best Buy's website, but it's called the Tableau, and it's a tuner. It's got two tuners in it. You put in coax, hook up Ethernet, and it's a network-based DVR. So you can watch live programming over the network and record it over the network. It doesn't hook up to a TV. But the price point was pretty interesting. It's $99, and I know that the Silicon Dust makes the HD home run units as well. But it's the first time I've seen one of these in a circular. So the Tableau dual light over-the-air DVR, that's $100 over at Best Buy. Well, if you're going to be buying this, you'll probably need an antenna as well. And then the Insignia sells this outdoor antenna. It's kind of takes up the similar. It's a little bit bigger than like a DirecTV satellite dish. $49.99 on that. Here's an ultra wide LG 29 inch IPS FreeSync, which is AMD's proprietary synchronization format for the monitor. It helps with screen tearing and stuttering and whatnot for $229.99 if you're looking for a widescreen. And here's a gaming PC at Best Buy. They're putting a lot of emphasis on gaming. I went into Best Buy last weekend when my father was in town because I needed to look at something. And they've got I don't know if it's because this Best Buy is new. It got their whole roof collapsed during the storm, so all their stock is new. But they have got a very large section of gaming enthusiast hardware, expensive GPUs. They had multiple 2080 Ti's in stock. Those cards are MSRP almost $2,000. They have a whole bunch of keyboards, RAMs. They sell CPUs on the shelf. Best Buy is really making a play at that market because, frankly, you cannot buy this stuff anywhere else. It's a little pricey, but if you're in the pinch. So here's a pre-built CyberPower gaming computer. It's got Ryzen 7, which is AMD's new, I wouldn't call it new. It's AMD's new processor line after the FX series. And let's see, I've got the specs pulled up here. If it'll let me load it. It's a Ryzen 7, and the page is not loading for me. Let's see.
Let's just say it's fast.
Yeah, but I want to get the specs here because it's important, and for some reason the page won't load.
And your DNS.
I'm using I'm using a good DNS.
I'm kidding.
All right. Well, I'll come back to that after the specials are over with. But we'll talk about that. It's it's $1,299 for that save, $100. I didn't realize they were still making these, but they're still making the paper white e-readers Kindle. This says the all new Kindle Paperwhite. I know some people don't like reading on screens, so you can still get a brand new Paperwhite Kindle. They say it's waterproof, not water resistant, but waterproof. So I guess you could take this in the bathtub with you for $100 on that 6-inch Paperwhite e-reader Kindle. And then finally, in part of their gaming gear here, they've got the Razer Kraken, which is their one of their headset lines, tournament wired headset. It can hook up to the computer or a PS4 or Xbox Mac. It'll hook up almost anywhere. It's got a sound control on to mute your microphone, to turn up your headset up and down the volume, and that's on sale for $79.99. Finally, here, Office Max Office Depot. This looked like a cool point of sales machine. Good form factor for that. It's a Lenovo all-in-one. Same thing here. 1 terabyte hard drive. Optane must be doing some type of promo with these manufacturers because it's the same thing. It's 8 gigabytes of memory and 16 gigabytes of Intel Optane built into this. And it's got an i5 processor, $699.99, save $150 on that. Here's a pretty powerful desktop here. If you do maybe some stuff in SketchUp, a lot of people that do CAD buy gaming computers. you don't necessarily have to. This is an interesting machine at Lenovo. It's got 128 gigabyte solid state drive for your OS, as well as a 2 terabyte spinning hard drive to store your data on, and it's 16 gigabytes of memory. But it's got a video card in it. It's not the greatest card, but it's an RX 560, a 4 gigabyte AMD card in it, as well as an AMD Ryzen 7 for $829.99. So if you do some CAD stuff or maybe some pretty level entry video editing, this would be a good machine, and without taking the plunge into a full gaming machine. The Netgear Nighthawk AC 1750. This is the router I have. I've been pretty happy with it. I did install DDWRT on it because I wasn't super happy with they didn't have VPN functionality built into the stock OS. So I did install DDWRT, but it was an easy installation. But nevertheless, it's a good AC router, $109 at who's this? Office Max Office Depot. Moving on over here, we've got a Dell XPS laptop. This is a pretty cool looking machine. 256 gigabyte SSD, 8 gigabytes of memory. This is a pricey one, but it's their XPS line, which is their high end line. $1099.99 for that. And same thing with this. Their FedEx is offering 15% off ground shipping at Staples this week, or excuse me, not at Staples, at Office Max Office Depot. So if you need to ship something with either FedEx or Staples or FedEx or UPS, you can do so this week for 10 or 15% off, depending on the store.
You know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on.
Amazon last week announced that they are in direct competition with FedEx and UPS.
But consumers can't ship via Amazon.
I don't know.
I've never seen this before. I've never seen a
I know.
That's UPS or FedEx coupon for shipping. Right. I'm going to go buy something so I can ship it and save 15%. And that's at Office Max Office Depot. This printer is always for sale, and Spence brings it up almost every week, and I bring it up whenever I have the opportunity because it's such a good printer. It's a black and white laser. It's the HL-L2370DW. It's got wireless. That's how you can tell based on the W. And it's $100. Buy this printer. Get some, what do they call it? It's not toner. Is that what they call it? Toner. Get some toner for it. You'll never have to replace it. You'll never have any problems with it. These printers are awesome.
The problem with it, with those black and white, is you don't get the white toner.
Correct.
They only give you the black one.
Just the black toner. I bought a very similar printer to this at a garage sale for $5.
And you're still using it.
And it's amazing. I mean, the printer is fantastic. Have never had a problem with it. And this one's wireless, so you don't have to be like me and have to run a cup server to print over the network. Let's see what else we got here. This is a cool thing. I've seen these before, but I recommended it. I wouldn't recommend it. I've never used one, but it's an Epson portable document scanner. The example they show here is some type of real estate brochure getting scanned. So if you spend a lot of time out on the road and need to scan things, they do have apps on the iPhone and Android that will do scanning, but they're not the greatest. So if you need to do some real scanning, you can get this Epson Workforce DS30. It's powered via USB, and it'll scan 8.5 by 14 is the feed size of it for $79.99. When I saw this Asus computer here, I literally thought it was a MacBook because it looks so much like a MacBook Pro, but it's actually a Chromebook. You can tell based on its price. It's $250, 15.6-inch Chromebook. That is 32 gigabytes of internal storage, 4 gigabytes of memory, and a 15.6-inch screen. If you need a computer to put in the living room to browse the internet or check email or Facebook while you're just sitting at home, this probably would suffice pretty well. And another piece of gaming hardware that was available in a circular flyer. This is the Logitech G213 Prodigy RGB gaming keyboard. I recently got a Logitech mouse. I've been pretty happy with it, and I've had Logitech keyboards in the past. It's not mechanical, but it is RGB, and it's got a couple of function keys at the top, and that's on sale for $49.99, and you can check that out at Office Max Office Depot. And
Depot.
that is specials.
Thank you, Nick. What is an RGB keyboard?
RGB, the backlights. If you look at the picture, the backlight is all RGB.
So it changes colors?
Control the lighting. Yeah, so you can have it set up so like when you press a key, like a ripple effect comes out from where you're pressing it, or you can have it do a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, gamers don't have enough stuff going on the screen. They need some more action.
Yeah, exactly. They need some RGB. I'm having a really hard time.
Look at this. So you see the lighting?
Yeah.
And it can be changed by an app. So.
But okay. So it's not that it keeps on changing all the time.
Oh, you can.
It can. Depends on the application.
You can. There's who is it that makes Corsair's got technology called?
Yeah, this is Corsair. My son got it from a friend.
What is I don't remember. They've got it's a standard high Q. Yeah, but there's maybe it's not Corsair. Somebody's got a protocol that the RGB stuff all syncs together, because they do, like, for example, the AMD Ryzen processors that you buy in these pre-built computers, the cooler on the computer has got an RGB light built into it. So you'll see on a lot of these pre-built gaming computers that come with AMD Ryzen will have a glass case, because the CPU block has got an RGB light built into it. I've got this. Okay. I've got the specs for that CyberPower PC. It's
all right.
$1,299. It's an AMD Ryzen 7. It's got 16 gigabytes of memory. It's got a GTX RTX 2070, which is a very top of the line video card. 240 gigabyte SSD plus 2 terabytes of spinning storage. So if you're if you don't want to jump into the pre-built if you don't want to build your own computer and you want to jump into the pre-built market, this is a pretty good price. And that's at Best Buy.
Very nice. All right. So yeah, we were talking about the coupons for shipping. So the article goes that Amazon declared in its 2018 annual filing that it competes against transportation and logistic companies. It's a clear warning shot against UPS and FedEx, two companies that used to claim Amazon is simply their customer. Meanwhile, Amazon CFO Brian Olsavsky told analysts last week that the retail giant will continue to expand its Amazon logistics and its delivery capability. So yeah, they are. I mean, they have a service now where they have their own delivery. And why not? If they can take packages from one city to the next, at this point, it's great. They have their own airline. Amazon has their own airplanes to move stuff from city to city. So it's you don't know what to think. Is it going to be something that like Microsoft is going to rule everything? Google, now look at Amazon. They're going to be everywhere. Let's see who do we have on the air, on the phone? Hello. All right. That doesn't work. Yeah, never mind.
There's a lot of hysteria this week with net neutrality again.
Oh yeah,
it's all based off of a Vice article. Here's the headline: network investment is down, layoffs abound, and networks are falling apart. This isn't the glorious future a deep pie promised. I mean, I hate these freaking journalists. This is the most
What journalist
bullshit that I've ever seen. This is ridiculous. Networks are falling apart.
Yeah.
Where?
Yep.
What networks are falling apart? Now, we could talk about Google here in a little while, but there's no networks falling apart. What networks Has your network fallen apart, Amnon? Have you been
this
unable
is
to
this
access
is
the
just this is how they grab attention.
I mean,
It's all
week. It's now clear none of the supposed benefits of killing net neutrality are real. I have had no problems using the internet.
nobody that I know had any problem.
And it's just it is this fear-mongering hysteria, and these stupid tech people online fall right into this, this stupid fear-mongering.
Yep.
I mean, I have had no I have no issue using the internet.
Well,
their claim is that AT&T is preparing for another major round of layoffs. And of course, they blame Trump.
Who's blaming Trump?
This Vice
yeah, this, but AT&T says thanks Trump, because you go ahead.
This is what it says. AT&T is preparing for another major round of layoffs despite netting nearly $20 billion from the Trump tax cuts. So I wish they would dig into why AT&T is actually laying people off. Why are they? It's not. It's probably because the people aren't beneficial in working there. I mean,
right. I mean, one of the things that came up during the partial shutdown of the government is that somebody posted it. It says because non-essential employees were furloughed, and somebody was saying, "Where did you hear about non-essential employees in industry? What is non-essential? There's no such thing. If you're non-essential, you go home. We don't need you. We don't need." So maybe somebody paid attention, and it came up as a kind of a joke, but maybe they came up and say, "Oh, you know what? We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need that." And a lot of it can also be maybe blamed on automation, because there's a lot more automation now. And okay, so these jobs we don't need anymore. We do it like this because they're in business to make money, and more money they make, the better their stock is doing, and the better their whole situation is. So
here is one of the main claims from this article. It claims that capital spending among the nation's 4 biggest cable providers, Comcast, Charter Spectrum, Cable One, and Altice, which is Optimum, will is expected to decline upwards of 5.8% this year. Now let's take that statement as it is. I'll read it one more time for you. The capital spending among the nation's 4 biggest cable providers is expected to decline upwards of 5.8% this year. Cable providers. People are cutting the cord in droves because cable TV is outrageous.
Right.
I just don't know where that turns into net neutrality is bad.
No.
Is some of these cuts in the network side? They may be, but if I had to guess, 5.8% of capital spending, decline in capital spending, is probably because people in droves are cutting the cord and moving to alternatives for cable television.
Yeah, and it's not just that. A lot of people don't think about the fact that if a company spent $10 billion last year to build infrastructure, well, they don't have to do it again this year. Now we don't need to do. I mean, we're sort of in place. We don't need to spend that money anymore. I mean, we spent it last year. Now we're spending half of it this year because we're already in place. Is that bad?
Well,
no.
How about the fact that if I went to Spectrum today, Amnon, and tried to buy a home phone service, it would cost me damn near $40 a month, with taxes and fees.
Absolutely,
people are dropping that like the plague.
Sure,
$40 a month.
Yeah,
my cell phone. I don't even think my cell phone plan is $40 a month.
It's because they can, and because a lot of people go for it.
So it's total fear mongering.
Yep.
It's based off of non-issues, and I'm so sick of seeing this crap. And of course, without getting into the politics, it's all Trump's fault.
Somehow. Oh, of course.
Somehow. Even though AT&T gets a $20 billion tax cut, AT&T is laying people off because of FCC's Ajit Pai and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Not because AT&T is running currently running a campaign in which they are lying about 5G. I mean, I don't see any outrage about that on the internet. That
no, actually,
literally
who,
lying about what the technology is.
You know who joined them with that?
Who?
Apple.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, so my iPhone that's
Where
got
is
a
it?
4G antenna is going to be 5GE compatible. That's incredible. That's amazing technology that they're so far ahead.
Apple is in bed with AT&T. Here's the article goes. There are no 5G iPhones.
Yep.
And there probably wouldn't be 5G iPhones for a while. But that isn't stopping Apple and AT&T. They are reportedly rolling out AT&T's fake 5GE branding with its upcoming iOS 12.2 update. So they are doing it. They're also doing it.
Yeah, they're going to change what it says at the top of the phone. It currently says 4G. It'll say 5GE, which is just 4G.
And it says that the company intentionally misleading name for its LTE network that it seems to hope customers will confuse for actual next generation 5G network is active. So they did it before with LTE apparently, and now they're doing it again. There's nothing we can do about it. That's networks are falling apart.
Yeah, you got the Google Fiber store.
Yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, so Google Fiber is turning off their service in Louisville, which was one of their first. It wasn't their first, but one of their first cities to try their
gigabit
ISP.
Yeah. Their gigabit.
Their gigabit ISP. Now, up in Raleigh, the Google Fiber is expanded and is in subdivisions all over up there. And Google's calling it one of their biggest mistakes they've ever made.
Did you read why they're having problems with it?
No.
They apparently buried the cable 2 inches below the surface and put some kind of a layer on it. That's the way it was supposed to be done. That's the way they engineered it. After a couple of years, those cables are beginning to get exposed, and they have to go and cover them again. And they said that the only real solution is to dig it 6 inches below. And they don't think that is going to be profitable for them to do over there, because they're going to have to redo the whole thing. But
how's it going to be profitable? They offer free internet service to people.
But it's because they screwed up to begin with.
They offer free service. It's what, 30 megabits symmetrical, I think, is free. Yeah. All you got to do is pay $5 a month for the equipment or something like that. I mean,
well, that's how they did it in the beginning in order to get, people will talk about them and talk about them and talk about them. And then it worked. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. 2 inches on the side road.
Well, now they're leaving the city.
Give me a break.
So now Google's saying they're not planning on leaving any other cities,
right?
Of course, until they find issues there. But man, if I was a customer in Louisville, had to go back to Spectrum or AT&T's crappy service, I'd be pissed.
Well, it's the old saying: "What you don't know can't hurt you." Here, you know something better.
Could you imagine Comcast just saying, "Oh, we're going to stop providing service"?
Yeah. Well,
think about how scary that is.
It is very scary, especially in areas where you don't have others because of monopoly that was there, and now suddenly bang.
That's crazy that I don't see quite an outrage from Reddit on an ISP canceling service to a whole geographic area. But we're gonna have a panic attack over net neutrality. I mean, you want to talk about like a real problem going on in the internet. Here it is. Google's one of their little projects didn't work, so they're shutting off internet to
it was
customers.
It was badly designed, technically badly designed. It's not that people did not want it.
April 15th.
Yeah, they didn't get,
and they're giving everybody 2 free months of service. So what a bunch of nice guys. what a bunch of nice guys.
Right. So do you use Flickr?
I have. I used to use it when I worked in New York with the wedding photographer. Yes.
So, photo sharing website Flickr is starting to delete users' photos after changing its term of conditions. So, we talked about it last year. So, now they're beginning to delete them. The firm announced in November that it would no longer be allowing its members 1 terabyte. It would no longer allow 1 terabyte of free storage. Under the new rules, there is a limit of 1,000 photographs for those who do not subscribe to the service at a cost of $49.99 per year. 1 terabyte would store around 200,000 photos with an average of size of 5 megabytes. So they're giving you a limit of 1,000 photos for free. But otherwise, you're going to have to pay for it, which makes, I mean, come on. Geez. You have that many pictures?
Well, it's Flickr is very, very, very popular in the photography community because people there is not a good place to store all of those pictures.
But these are professionals. What is $50 a year?
Well, they're professionals, but a lot of them are just enthusiasts that buy, Amazon DSLRs are what?
Yeah.
$300, $400.
Right.
And you can get a nice photography rig for $500.
And they buy them because they know they need it. So it's
they know they want to play around with it.
Yeah.
So this is another one of Marissa Mayer's failed acquisitions at Yahoo.
It's not Yahoo's fault.
I know it's not. I'm not saying it's Yahoo's fault.
It's not Flickr's fault either.
But Flickr's just been poorly managed. I mean,
it's not their fault. It's Trump.
Yeah, it's so poorly managed. It's such a cool service too. I mean, there are the most, and the things on Flickr are so high resolution. You can upload. I think you can upload RAW. RAW is a file format, and with like DSLRs will shoot in RAW. You can upload RAW pictures to Flickr. They are so high quality. It's incredible.
Well, then I mean, look, if they give you 1,000
pictures, not a lot.
It's not a lot.
When I was working
I see what you mean
with the wedding photographer.
Yeah,
I mean, in a wedding, you shoot 1,000 pictures. Now you don't do everything with you shoot 3 or 4 of the same thing every time you take a picture, but nevertheless, I mean, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of pictures.
Interesting.
That's the weird thing is the people that really use Flickr are, 1 terabyte's a lot of storage, but Google doesn't even give you that much free storage on Google Drive, but pictures are huge. You can have pictures that are 30, 40, 50 megabytes.
Gene is asking if anybody is using 1Password. I know
you have to pay for 1Password.
Right?
I
think Ron is using that. He told me that it works great.
1Password, I believe, is $2.99 a month, which obviously isn't outrageous, but excuse me, $3.99 per user per month for 1Password. LastPass has got a free service, and then they've got a similarly priced. No, sorry, that was Team in Business. 1Pass for personal and family is $2.99 per month. You can get a whole family account for $5 a month.
Well, I would recommend if no one's using anything right now, then start with BitWarden, just because of their architecture and the fact that you could just host it on your own, even if you're not planning on doing it. It's like they
hosted on your own what? Yeah.
So right now, if you will use 1Password or LastPass or any of these services, everything's encrypted and all the communication is encrypted, but the storage is on their side.
Right.
BitWarden, you don't need to be too savvy. You just need a place to do that, right? But if you have a server that you can run Docker containers, then you can host the complete BitWarden server for yourself on your own. and all the applications and all of that, they work with that. So that's you get the benefit of having everything.
Yeah, but that's not really for the regular person out there. They don't have a server and they don't have any of
No,
that.
but they do have a hosted solution. So
yeah,
I would recommend looking at them because of this practice, right? They are. I find their application on Android. I don't use iPhone, so I don't know. But I find their application on Android to be superior to LastPass, for example.
Because of what? Because what is better? What is superior?
Responsiveness,
okay.
Matching, auto-filling, all of those features.
Okay.
So, and the fact that if you wanted to, you could move it to a self-hosted solution eventually, right? By self-hosted solution, it means very simple. If you're not satisfied with something that BitWarden is doing on their hosting service, right? You could take it to somewhere else. It doesn't have to be your own server, right? It's enough that a bunch of friends with one of them being a techie and having a place to host it on their server, right? Then suddenly it's out of these. It's no longer in the main hive, and not being on the main hive sometimes is enough, right? It's like having the sign that your home is monitored by a security company, right? It just, the sign is there, so the burglar would just go to the next house where there isn't sign, right? So sometimes that's all that's needed, not being at the central hive. So when LastPass has a breach, right, your files weren't there to start with. So the same idea here. That's why I really like what they're doing.
All right, BitWarden,
yeah.
I didn't realize they offered a hosted solution. I don't see that on their website.
BitWarden, yeah. If you scroll a bit to the low, they say host it on your own, and so they still have a paid license that you can buy. Yeah, so if you scroll down, you see open source software, and then host it yourself.
Yeah, but I thought you said they offer a paid for hosting solution.
Oh yeah.
Where's
when they say install now, it's free.
Oh, that's that.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically they have a paid tier also. I can find it probably later. Yeah, if you scroll even more, there's personal accounts, so there's free, or there's $10 a year. So and they have organization accounts as well, so you can buy
this free forever is they're hosting it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
And can you host it on your? And you said you can host it on your own server.
Yeah,
correct. Then what do you?
I have it hosted on mine, so all of my clients, they're pointed to my server. They have an option of just instead of using the default server, using your own, and that's it.
So that's for the free version.
For everything, yeah.
For anything. No, I was going to say. So how do they make the money if you host it on your own? I see.
If you want to buy, so there's some features that are locked behind the license, and you need to install a license file, right?
Like what?
So the business use for sharing between an organization of people, you want multiple people to use separate accounts, but to be able to share with one another. So each separate account is free. It's totally free. No nothing, right? If you want them to be able to share between themselves, then that's called an organization feature. So you can buy a license per organization.
Okay, well, that's not important for end users,
right? Mostly,
yeah.
So for personal users, if you pay, I think it's $1 a month, then you can get the premium features, and the premium features allow you to store attachments to each entry. So let's say you have an entry for your credit card, right? You can store an attachment of a photo of the credit card as well. or stuff like that, right?
Interesting.
So yeah, you get some added value by paying. It's not mandatory. You can use it without. It works perfectly on the free version. So and it keeps updating. It's a very live project.
So you can buy the software, the premium one,
yeah,
and install it on your own server, and you don't have to pay them monthly fee for anything.
The licenses are periodical, so they're either monthly or yearly.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Now you get a license, you install it, and it just phones home and it checks that the license is valid. But that's the only communication to them that.
Yeah.
I think it's a very, very, very fair model.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Good info.
Yeah. I would actually like to see more open source projects like this. Now, understand, it's open source. It is possible to circumvent the licensing component. So if you're really adamant on not paying at all, you can take all of that, you can modify the code, you can build your own version, but the side effect of that is that you don't get any updates.
Right.
Or for every update, you'll need to do the modification on your own.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, it's open. It's out there. You can do whatever you want with it. You can even choose not to pay them if you know how to circumvent that. But if you want the comfort of the features that they're providing and keeping updated and keeping secure, you pay them the fee, which is reasonable. And yeah. I mean, I don't know, let's put it this way. You as an ISP, right? You can host an instance like this, and you can provide that to your customers.
With the customers,
right. And they can decide whether to buy a license or not even involving you, right?
Or, that's a good point.
Or involving you, right? Whatever business model you choose.
Yeah.
And it's fair for you, and it's fair for the customer, and it's fair for the software provider.
Absolutely.
So that's what I like about this, right? It's like there's a solution here, right? And they're selling a solution and not just the product. And that's what I really like about the approach.
Talking about passwords. Given the frequency of hacks and data leaks these days, chances are good at least one of your passwords has been released to the wild. A new Chrome extension released by Google last week makes it a little easier to stay on top of that. Once installed, Password Checkup will simply sit in your Chrome browser and alert you if you enter a username/password combination that Google knows to be unsafe. The company says it has a database of 4 billion credentials that have been compromised in various data breaches that it can check against. When the extension detects an insecure password, it'll prompt you with a big red dialog box to immediately update your info. It's handy, but users might wonder exactly what Google can see. To that end, Google says that the extension never reveals this personal information. So I know that Firefox has Have I Been Pawned or whatever built in, right?
I don't know about built in.
Well, something.
Yeah, it is. Something is built in.
So, but this here will actually
pop up. That at all?
You don't?
No.
Because
they're storing every single one of your passwords that you're entering.
Oh no! Well, no. I don't know that they.
No, it's already stored.
This is a database of compromised username and password.
I don't have passwords stored on Chrome.
No, you don't understand what.
No,
you're saying.
It's how does Have I Been Pawned works?
You enter so you're telling you, but you just said when you go to log into a service, it's going to pop up this thing.
That what happens is when you go to log in, they compare this one to that database, and if it's in that database,
that's my point. So they're hijacking the password field.
And you mean they have to read your password on the fly. You're
How
right.
the hell are they getting
they
my
don't.
password?
They
Oh.
don't really need to.
Well, they
All
have to
they
have
need
some.
to do is hash it.
Well, yeah,
So
but it's still they get it.
they wouldn't do that. No, what they do is so the way any security, right? If they're doing that way, let's put it this way, I haven't looked into it. If they're doing that way, then that's criminal. That's criminal because not because they take your password and save it somewhere, because you probably checked your box somewhere and said yes.
Yeah.
It's because in the communication, right? If that will be hijacked in some way, right, that can be exposed. Now, a company like Google, I expect them to be a bit smarter about that. But again, I need to check. But the way something like this will be designed properly is locally, right? The extension will hash that password with a one-way encryption,
Mhm.
which is safe, which is hard to decrypt. There's no longer. Let's put it this way: if you ever read something and it says unhackable, never use it, because it's 100% hackable. When somebody publishes something as unhackable, that means they're lying through their teeth, and they chose probably not to maintain anything anymore. That they say it's unhackable, and they're not looking at the possibility that it can be hacked. So it probably encrypts with a hash that is one way and hard to uh, very hard to decrypt, and match it through the database that already has the usernames with the hashed version of the password. That makes sense?
Mhm.
So that would be a safe comparison. And I mean,
Actually, I mean, when
it's a step forward from just taking your email and say you've been hacked at this and this incident. I still don't like it. I would rather have an option where it says, you know,
check it.
okay, you've notified me with this site and the username that, yes, send the user. I can see that working. You've notified me about this in the past. I don't want to know any more about this site. I'm already set with this, right? Like that would be a much better solution for me as a user. By the way, one of the paid benefits of BitWarden is when you buy the BitWarden, when you pay for, and you can buy it only for 1 month, you get something called a report, and they compare your entire password
List.
vault
Yeah.
with all known breaches, and they give you a report of every username that might have been breached.
Nice.
Yeah, so especially for people like you, Amnon, and me, when we use different emails
Mhm.
for every account, this will give us a list of where we are.
Right.
I haven't done it, by the way. I haven't done that yet, but I'm planning on doing it. So,
all right.
I've got one final thing.
Yes, go ahead, Nick.
Wells Fargo had a huge outage this week.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, there's a lot of their website and a lot of their banking services were down for a couple of hours Thursday morning. So, and they have not really elaborated on a whole lot since then. They've been very silent, which I know is pissing a lot of people off.
Well, I mean, I like the fact that when somebody finds a problem, they don't talk about it, they do something about it, and then they say that, yeah, we have a problem, we have an outage, whatever, but there's no need to tell people what exactly it was, because they may be using software that other banks are using, and somebody's going to say, oh, then let's go to that bank and do it. I'd rather they keep it quiet until the problem is fixed, and may help other banks not fall into that trap, than for them to say, "Oh yeah, this is what it was," right away. No.
With one caveat.
Yeah.
I don't care about public announcements
Yeah.
as much as I care about them notifying the authorities the moment.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Why the authorities?
The authorities,
because this is the same goes with software bugs, right? The moment you have a software bug that you notice and you don't notify the developer, right? They don't know about it.
Right.
Why the authorities? Because the authorities are in charge of centralizing the information about everywhere that something like this happens. And if they see a pattern, if they see a correlation, it's their job to fix that. Now, if there was a centralized entity that publicly does that, fine. But because security isn't a public thing, right? Security is about keeping everything close in close confines. Then yes, then make it the authority.
Yeah, the authorities and the developer. Absolutely. If it has something to do with a software problem.
This apparently was hardware in a data center.
Yeah, then if it's something that somebody up the line needs to know about so it will fix other problems in other data centers, then they should notify them. Say, hey, like if you have 10 A data disks in your data center and they're failing, you should let A data, hey, look, if you type this and this and this will happen. And they can fix it or patch it before there's a run on A data owners that will show everything about them. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, they need to let everybody know. Absolutely. All right. All right. Well, anything else that it's that time of day again.
Well, I'll mention something. I'm playing with it, so I don't have a lot of data.
Okay.
So one of the things we like to complain about is how Amazon is listening on everyone with the Echo, right?
Right.
There are two interesting open source projects. One is called Mycroft, and the other is called, I'll find it in a moment. I don't remember the other name. They're both based on open source alternatives. They're called AI assistants, right?
Wow.
Yeah, open source solutions that are completely hosted within your network. Most of them are based on Raspberry Pi. So they have solutions you can install them probably on a PC, but it'll be a lot less convenient to place multiple instances of that around the home, right? So so this is one of the things I'm gonna try and play a bit with.
But it's a beginning.
Yeah. There's quite a few of these, more than one or two. There's two prominent ones. Mycroft is actually, they've been selling they've also been selling hardware that you can just buy out of the box, plug to your network, and it'll start working. You can, like the Alexa services, you can hook it up to cloud services to connect things, but most of the processing is going to be done locally. Nice thing about it, one of the things that you can set up is your own wake word, right? It no longer needs to be OK Google, it no longer needs to be Alexa or Echo. It can be any word that you want, right? Yeah, stuff like that. And it usually hooks up with a lot of services, at least any service that has an open API, and that people can write plugins for it. So
nice.
The moment I'll have some more details about that, I'll
let us know.
I'll keep you updated. Yeah, this is an interesting field.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's good news. All right, Nick, anything you want to add?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Dana. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Tonight at 7, Nick hosts Against the Norm, right?
Yes, sir.
And at 9, it's Mike Phillips hosts the Crypto Culture Show. Both of these programs are on Wilmington Big Talker 106.7 FM, and you can listen on TuneIn. And if you need the link to TuneIn, how to get there, it's in the links on the left navigation bar. See you next week, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.